Hello, my name is Alana Monet, and if you're tuning in, welcome to my first video about my IVF journey. I'm currently in the process of doing IVF with my man, and I would like to share with you how that journey is going so far. I'm in the beginning stages, so this will be a multi-part series where as I progress, you guys will be in the know. A little bit of background about me. I do live in the state of California, United States. I am 28 years old and my husband is 35 years old. We've been together for about 6 years, and I knew from the gate that if we wanted to conceive, we were going to need to do IVF. The reason that we are doing IVF stems from my partner. There are some complications on his side, so going into the relationship, I already knew that that was something we were going to have to do because he's already done the testing for years and years. So pretty much he was already aware that if he ever wanted to have children, IVF was going to be the route that he was going to have to take. And I love this man, so of course I was 100% down. I'm still 100% down, and we are finally in our IVF journey. So we are choosing to do IVF in this great year of 2026 because California recently passed some laws that pretty much made the cost of IVF a lot lower. Usually before, when we were looking at IVF, it was looking like it was going to be about $35,000 out of pocket. But now with the new laws in California, we're going to be paying about $600 out of pocket. Now, this is not going to be the same situation for everybody. My job actually will not be covering any type of IVF until 2027, but that's because I work for the state of California. His job is going to be the one that is covering our IVF, and he has a really great plan, and every job is going to be a little bit different on how much they're going to cover. But regardless, the cost in California should be substantially lower than what we were seeing prior to this new law passing. So let me get right to it. I've always been trying to find videos about IVF and people just talk. So let me get straight into the details. I am currently in the very beginning stages of IVF. So I'm going to be talking about the consultation, how long it took, how it went, and the first steps before we start taking those injectables that we always hear about. First things first, I have Kaiser as my medical. So we actually started our consultation in June of 2025. Unfortunately, on our end, we dropped the ball. We did not fill out my partner's questionnaire in enough time, so we essentially had to start over in about November of 2025. In November of 2025, I filled out my questionnaire. My partner filled out their questionnaire. It's just some details about yourself, nothing too crazy, and we submitted it to our team, and then we got our referral to the IVF clinic. I live in the Bay Area, so originally I was going to be doing the IVF clinic in San Ramon. However, they had a substantially long wait time, and I have a timeline for us to be able to complete IVF because I will be going into my doctorate soon. We decided to transfer over to the IVF clinic of Fremont because it was a lot shorter of a wait time to get a consultation with our actual IVF doctor. So we got our IVF doctor in Fremont. We got scheduled for about a month out. So our first consultation was in the very beginning of January 2026. I believe our doctor's name is Dr. Tan. I have not officially met Dr. Tan in person, but I have had a video chat with Dr. Tan, and he was very concise, very to the point. Initially going into IVF, I wanted to do twins because I do not plan on getting pregnant more than once. My IVF doctor was very upfront and said that they do not do twins, and Kaiser steers away from doing twins, especially because I'm 28 years old, I'm in good health, I'm young. There's no reason for us to do twins. It also raises the risks of complications, and he just said he's not going to do that. Consultation went pretty smooth with the doctor. They told us how everything was going to go and asked if we had any questions. So from our consultation, we were told that we would be doing some blood work and some tests just to see where all of our hormone levels were at. We already had done a semen analysis prior, so we did not need to do another one of those. The doctor gave us a few options as far as if we wanted to do genetic testing. Pretty much that is where they test the embryo for genetic markers to make sure that there aren't any concerns such as maybe like Down syndrome or other conditions that can be passed down to your baby, and they will test the embryo before implanting it. Our doctor said that they feel like there was no reason for us to do that test. We're pretty good health, pretty young still, and said that honestly it could raise the risk of damaging the embryo, and also that there have been false positives. So pretty much saying that an embryo has genetic markers for a certain disease, but really it wasn't true. So the doctor said that they never recommend it. So we decided let's not do it. Plus it saves us about $3,600. Doctor made sure to reiterate that the nurses will be our best friends, because to get to him, we have to go through the nurse. And I made sure to make a mental note of that because I wanted to move things along. He gave us pretty much a timeline of a list of medications that we'll be taking, how the visits are gonna go, but pretty much that we were just waiting for my next menstrual cycle before we could really get the process started. He prescribed a few medications for us to get started right away that would pretty much just help with my follicles and also help my partner's semen. Let me actually go grab those to show you. So we both got recommended pretty similar supplements. For me, the doctor recommended CoQ10. This is what I've been taking. You can buy this off of Amazon. I don't have any type of Amazon storefront or anything, so just look it up. Maybe I'll develop one so you guys can check it out. This is by the brand Theralogics, and it is Neo Q10. Next, the doctor wanted me to take some vitamin D3. Got Nature's Bounty. You can buy this almost anywhere, and this is the vitamins that I've been taking. Of course, they wanted me to get started on a prenatal right away. You don't actually wait till you're pregnant to start the prenatal. You start it prior, so you're getting all of those nutrients and micronutrients that your body needs to start building a baby. I originally got these prenatals. This is the Mega Food prenatal. I got these at Whole Foods. This was highly recommended by the staff member at Whole Foods. They said this is what all the mothers like to go get. It's natural, it breaks down in your body. I hated it. I'm so sorry, not because they reacted with me badly, but I cannot stomach the smell and the taste. And as soon as I put them on my tongue, they start dissolving. Recently, I switched over to these prenatals that I got at Costco. This is from the brand Ritual. It's called Essential for Women Prenatal Vitamin. These are coated, and you do not taste all of that minerally vitamin taste. The only thing about these is it has a very strong citrus smell and a citrus taste. It reminds me of taking a not so fun lemon head. So pretty much, this is what I was first told to take at the first consultation. So after the consultation, I was pretty much told to wait for my menstrual cycle. And of course, because I was waiting for my menstrual cycle, I did not have a menstrual cycle for 2.5 months, which was super abnormal. Now, I would like to note that I did tell my doctor that's going to be doing the IVF procedure that I had tried taking a brand of Ozempic back in November, and that once I looked and did my research, I saw that I should not be taking Ozempic while trying to prepare to do IVF, and I immediately stopped it after doing a 1-month cycle, and the doctor said that that was great. However, after doing that 1-month cycle of Ozempic, that's kind of what got my menstrual cycle all out of whack. And I was really worried that I had kind of messed up my cycle and pretty much messed up my plan and my timeline of doing IVF and having a baby. So after my period did not come in December, it didn't come in January, and we were moving on into February, I decided to reach back out to my nurse and request for them to do some blood work to see how my cortisol levels were, to see how I was progressing in my cycle, pretty much get some more information to see if maybe I needed to take another medication that would stimulate me to start my menses. So the nurse reached out to the doctor. My nurse is great. Her name is April, and she is out of the Fremont IVF office. And she was in correspondence with him and got me all the blood work that I needed to see what was going on and why my period was not coming. I went in, got it done. Next day, got all my results, and April messaged me back and said, hey, everything looks good. Your period should be starting in 1 week to 2 weeks. I'm not a doctor. I don't know all the logistics of the blood testing, but I do know that your blood can tell them where you're at in your cycle, when your period should be coming, etc., etc. And she was right, my period came 2 days later. I was advised by the nurse as well as the IVF physician that once my period started, I needed to let my nurse know because on day 2 of my cycle, I would be starting birth control. And I would have never guessed that birth control would be something that would be added to an IVF cycle, but apparently it is. It is to help your follicles, help your body produce as many follicles as possible so that when they need to take them to do the next steps of IVF, you have as many as possible. So on day 1 of my period, I did call my nurse. I was super excited. I woke up in the morning and I saw that I had a spot when I wiped, and I texted my partner and I was like, I think tomorrow is the big day. And as the day progressed, I started to bleed a little bit more. And so I decided, you know what, let me call the doctor and let them know that today is my first day of my period. Called them up. They sent me a prescription to the pharmacy to get my birth control and said to start this the next day. I actually had a little bit of complications because after I called my doctor, the bleeding stopped completely. And I was like, okay, Alana, there you go, getting too excited, and it's not even your period. But it did pick back up a little bit later, so I was still on track. And the following day, I did take my first birth control pill. These are the birth control pills that I have been taking. Pretty much, she gave me a birth control calendar, and at that point, she created my IVF calendar. And this is what I'm gonna be doing until they take my follicles, which is scheduled so far for Friday, March 13th. So with the birth control pills, you started on the second day of your period, your active period, and you continue for the time frame that your nurse tells you. For me, I believe I did it for about a week and a half, and then you stop for 2 days and start again. So last night I just started my pill again after taking a 2-day break. I have a pretty standard menstrual cycle or period when I'm actually bleeding. It lasts for about 6 to 7 days fully. And so I was taking a pill every single day, and then my period stopped. And about 2 days after my period, I started bleeding again, which is completely normal while you're doing this birth control regimen. It's completely normal to have spotting, bleeding, off and on, off and on. And so with that does come mood swings for me, at least. I have had to tell my partner multiple times, I am sorry, I am emotional, and I am moody. I am very irritable and short-tempered on my regular period, and just doing this part alone has made it a little bit more, and I'm so sorry to him, but he has been as patient as he can be with me and trying to remind himself, like, it's for the baby. Plus, I tell him, hey, if you can't handle this now, how are you gonna handle me when I'm pregnant? That's not to say, though, I do try to keep myself in check and not put him through it. Another thing that may be a little TMI, but I wish I would have known, is this regimen of taking these pills, and this whole thing has turned me off. I am not in the mood at all. Zero amount I am a Sahara Desert, whereas the prescriptions or the supplements that my partner is taking has made him ready to go. So there's also that, which, hey, it is what it is. It's for the baby. And my partner's really understanding. And so ladies, just know that that is a possible side effect that you will not want to be touched at all. Just letting you know, just in case you were wondering. So where I'm at now, I am still taking my birth control pills, and next week I will do a blood test and I will go in for my first ultrasound. This is just to check my uterus and make sure everything is looking good and I am progressing well and good. I have a bunch of medications that I have just recently ordered. They did tell me to make sure you order your medications early because they will be back ordered and they will have to get them in. Also, make sure you send your medications to a pharmacy that does do fertility. So in our area, I believe we have like San Francisco, Fremont, San Ramon. If you order them to another pharmacy, the nurse did tell me it might take a really long time and you don't want to be stuck needing your medications and now you're thrown off your calendar because they didn't have what you needed. If you want to know the medications that were prescribed to me, let me know in the comments and I can get that list for you. But it is a pretty lengthy list. There's a few different types of injectables and antibacterial, some other stuff, and something that me and my partner are gonna take during a visit. But pretty much next week, once I do my blood test and my ultrasound, they will start me on the injectables, and then a week leading up to them retrieving my follicles and eggs, I will do it day by day where I do blood work, ultrasound, blood work, ultrasound, blood work, ultrasound, so on and so forth, up until the day of my procedure. The day of my procedure, they said that they are going to put some chemicals in my system to make me relax and go memes for a little bit, and they will retrieve my follicles and eggs, and my partner will have to take me home. I'm supposed to rest for the day, and I am gonna milk it. I asked him to get me a special meal because I'm putting my body through this stress, and I'm supposed to rest for the next few days. Then pretty much what's gonna happen is they are going to freeze all of my embryos and eggs and send them off, and a few months later I will get those put back into me. I would like to note that initially going into this, I thought that they were going to take my follicles, take my eggs, keep them for 5 days and put them back into me. I was not aware that the freezing process did take a few months. Also, for Kaiser at least, even though we opted out of the genetic screening, we still had to pay the price in full up front because a lot of people do tend to change their minds after they have the retrieval and they want to get that genetic testing done. So to alleviate scrambling around trying to figure it out, you put your money up front, and they said a few days after they remove your follicles and eggs, they do give that money back to you if you have still decided that you do not want to do the genetic screening. That was a little bit of a surprise. Having to pay that money up front was a little bit of a surprise because there was an extensive contract that we went through where I did sign off saying that we did not want to do the genetic testing, but we came up with the money and we gave them their cash because you were not able to start your process until you paid that deposit. So that deposit was paid before I even started my menstrual cycle, because I needed to get that paid before my menstrual cycle started, because if my menstrual cycle had started without the money, then I wouldn't have been on track. There's also some other stuff I can go over, such as what is in that IVF contract, because I definitely read every single line, every single page, and pretty much the medicines I'm taking. If you have any questions about the process so far, drop them in my comments. And if you want to stay up to date on my IVF process, please follow me, like this video, turn on alerts. This is my first video, but you may see some other videos from me. But yes, this is the IVF process here in California in 2026. Thank you so much for watching. If you're a mommy hoping for your baby, good luck. I hope it goes so well for you, and I hope you get everything that you dream of. And if you have any questions, please let me know and I'll do my best to answer them. Bye.